Good morning. Hopefully I see you all soon at the morning meeting. So today we have chapter 4, Meg Murry. She's now age 14. So 4 years have passed. Is Dr. Murry still gone? 4 years is a long time, so let's find out. Middle school isn't easy for anyone, but Meg Murry has had a harder time than most. Not only is her father missing, but no one on earth has had the chance to understand why or how he went missing, especially Meg. Her classmates and teachers are the first to notice the cracks beginning to show. Even through the closed door of Principal Jenkins' office, Meg could hear the raised voice of Tristan's dad. She slumped down further in her chair, doing her best to avoid the school secretary's stern gaze, but from the way Miss Aldman was stamping documents, it was clear. Mr. Aldman was stamping documents. It was clear he was trying to send her a message. She was in trouble. Big trouble. Again. The door cracked open and Tristan's parents emptied into the outer office, their son planted between them. His dad had his hand on Tristan's shoulder and he quickly steered him past Meg. A pang twisted Meg's heart. Tristan's dad was there, protecting him, guiding him. Lucky jerk. Meg clenched her fist and stole a glance at Tristan. He was still cradling the ice pack against his cheek. So let's make a prediction here. What do you think might have happened? It kind of sounds like it. Yeah, ice pack on the cheek. Yeah. Sounds like maybe Meg cold cocked him one. Let's find out. His gaze darted over to hers, and his mouth screwed into a tight frown when he saw her. Then he scuttled from the room like he was afraid of her, as if he were the victim. Meg rolled her eyes. Principal Jenkins cleared his throat from the doorway, his eyes fixed on her. Oops. Meg tried to look repentant, and he gestured her into the office. She eased into a seat in front of his wide desk, clutching her backpack on her lap like a shield. Margaret Murry, Principal Jenkins said, stretching out her name like a reprimand. He lowered himself into his desk chair and leaned back, his hands cupped behind his head. What am I going to do with you? Tell me I got a chance at a boxing career? The principal dropped his hands to his desk and sat straight up, his expression serious. This is no time for joking, young lady. You struck a fellow student. He swung first, Meg mumbled defiantly. Not that anyone was likely to back her up, despite the small gathering of kids who'd been on the playground. Meg was an outcast, so nobody would take her side against the star baseball player Tristan. But he had started it. He'd been calling her a dumb loser and making fun of her for wearing pants with holes in the knees. She told him she couldn't care less what he thought, that he was an inconsequential speck in her life. She doubted he knew what inconsequential meant, but his ears had flamed up nevertheless, and she'd seen him pull his arm back. She danced backward as his hand went sailing past, throwing him off balance. All she'd done was shove him away from her, but his face had hit hard at the dirt in an angle, leaving him with a good shiner. Tristan and his friends had scurried back to the school, calling her names over their shoulder. Miss Langley had been on duty, and their cries had sent her stalking over to haul Meg into the office. What was she supposed to do? Let him punch her? Oh, sure. Her mom would have said, use words and walk away. But sometimes Meg felt the stubborn streak that forced her to stand still and face down those bullies. Principal Jenkins was staring at her expectantly, and Meg realized she'd tuned him out. She shifted uncomfortably. He sighed and shook his head. Meg, you need to stop lashing out at everybody. Look, I know things are tough at home. We're fine, Meg said, cutting him off. She didn't want to poke. She didn't want him poking and prodding in her family life. Well, I can't say I agree with you there, or you'd not be acting like this. How many other kids do you see coming into my office on a regular basis? He didn't really expect her to answer, so Meg gazed at the bulletin board on his wall instead. It was plastered with photos of smiling kids and thank you cards from families grateful for the stellar education he provided. She snorted to herself, like Principal Jenkins would know what a derivative was if it leapt off a page at him. Not that Meg's teachers were much better. Miss Glosworth was always after her to show her work, even though it was impossible, even, oh gosh, as though it were impossible for her to just get math. Forget all the other subjects where they just sighed at her answers. You're going to need to apologize, and I'm afraid you will be in detention for the rest of the day. That was fine with Meg. She didn't mind missing class. Fewer chances for people to snicker at her behind her back or lob paper at her. And I've got to call your mother. Mother, too, Principal Jenkins said, opening the drawer to pull out a notepad. Meg winced. The last thing her mother needed was to be worrying about Meg. Can't we just... Meg trailed off as Principal Jenkins shot her up. I don't think so, look. Okay. Oh, can I go now? Meg, we all just want what's best for you. You know that, right? He folded his hands, a clunky gold ring on his finger catching the light. Let us help you. If the other kids are giving you a hard time for some reason... Looking away, Meg glared at the dated carpet. He had no idea. He had no clue what it was like. The next day would mark 4 years since her dad had disappeared in a puff of smoke. Well, not literally a puff, or they'd have more clues than they did now. Every day that passed was a fresh morning of grief, bitterness, despair, as another sliver of hope broke off and drifted away in the river of time. Still, her mother maintained that he'd be back. They just had to keep faith in him. Meg didn't know how her mother managed to never get mad that he was gone. Not even when she was frantically packing their lunches, as she tapped out a work email on her phone and simultaneously took stock of what was running low in their pantry. The answer? Usually everything. Charles Wallace ate his weight in crackers, animal and otherwise, and her mom usually put off shopping until the very last possible second. But her mother's optimism never cracked, not even when she couldn't afford after-school art lessons for Charles Wallace and had to take up gigs writing grants for other researchers to supplement her stipend. At times like that, Meg would opt not to ask her mom to check her English homework, and when she needed a new outfit, she'd stop by the thrift store, choking back envy when she saw Veronica and her mom hauling 10 shopping bags worth of clothes from their car. Who really cared what Meg wore anyway? Just remember, you can always make an appointment with Mr. Malone. Meg blinked, her eyes refocusing on the dull gray floor. She knew Principal Jenkins meant well, but a session with a guidance counselor was not going to solve her problems. She looked up to meet his gaze and saw a tight smile on his face. Thanks, Mr. Jenkins, she said, trying to mutter a smile of her own. He waved her out, and Meg bolted down the hall to the in-school detention room. She plucked herself in the chair by the window and gazed out at the palm tree, wishing with all her might that she could be one of the birds swooping between perches, carefree and immune to middle school drama. Chapter 5, Veronica. So it seems like we're going to learn a little bit more about Meg's friend Veronica on Monday. All right, Bobcats. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope to see you soon, and I hope you have a great weekend. I love you guys.